Hey guys, and welcome to another video from Gaming Video Creations. Today we're going to be talking about the Grand Theft Auto trailer number 2 that just dropped, and we're going to kind of break it down into what they're actually doing here from an editing point of view, rather than just from, hey, this is what the game has to offer. Let's look at it and kind of analyze this a little bit and see what kind of cuts they're doing, like what kind of pacing are they using, because they've made this pretty much into a little story or a little movie, which is pretty cool. And I think Grand Theft Auto is one of the companies that really does a good job at marketing their trailers and really putting a lot of effort in these trailers. So let's take a look and break it apart so we can use some of this information for our own videos. So let's take a look. So right off the start there, you can kind of see we have a bit of a delay happening. So there's kind of a lull before any kind of sound happens. I think this kind of really sucks you into the videos. And you can see they use a simple fadeaway for that. Then they fade in their logo, and then you can already hear the sound coming in. So you can hear that sound, that little bit of audio coming into things, and it's kind of like a bit of a J cut. So you have that sound coming in, that beat, so you know something's coming, and it's going to help us transition into that first scene. And then a nice fade here. So we have one cut here. So this is kind of a fade. I'm going to put a mark here. Oops, not a marker. We're going to put a cut there, and just so I can actually track how many cuts and where the cuts are. So you can see we have this bit of this fade happening here, and then we come back and let's take a look here again. And there's another cut already. So we have another cut here. So the one thing I notice when it comes to this cut here is we have this big, like we're really far out from the scene, and this is something I see in a lot of videos. You get that really far out shot, so you know where you are, so it kind of gives you a sense of what's happening around you, and then they zoom in a little bit. So now we got a closer image of what's happening, which again, this could be gameplay, but this is also very intentional. And even in the gameplay, this is very intentional. So you can see we have this nice foreground here, and then they have this nice shot here that's nice and close. And you can see the guy working on the roof now. And then again, we get another cut right here. So there's I don't think there's any kind of, well, there is a little bit of sound that's traveling between the two shots here. So I think you're getting some of the sound from this first shot, and it's being mixed in with the second shot here. So we're getting that in here, but you can look at how close these are. There's about 2 seconds difference between these shots. So we're getting 2 second cut, 2 second cut, and let's continue on.
What you doing up there?
We're a little further out, zoomed out, and we're now getting even tighter into the subject up here. So we got this shot, and again, it was a nice cut right there.
What you doing up there?
And the nice thing about it too is you kind of get that same kind of movement happening between these shots, so it doesn't feel disconnected. You're getting that movement. You can see there's movement here, and then there's a little bit of movement happening here, so it feels connected, these two shots. And the sounds as well, like you're probably still hearing the same kind of birds and everything from this. Yeah, like the sound is continuous, so you're getting that sound transferred over. So if you're doing videos, one huge thing to look at is to actually have your sound start from your previous clip. So you always want to have that kind of that J cut or L cut happening.
Seriously, dude, you got...
This is a big one here, so you can see we're getting a huge overlap here of sound right here. So that could be a completely different shot. And again, we're talking about the video game, so they might have baked this into the video game, or it might be something that they did in the editing later. But in either case, you can see that right here he's coming down, and the sound, you can see on my screen here, the sound is happening here. So this is still the same shot, and then we are over here, I believe right around here, yeah, right about there. So you can see all that is from this shot. So they're baking that into the sound into the other shot, so it kind of mixes everything together and makes it feel like it's all one video.
We're just fixing some leaks. Seriously, dude, you got some time on your hands. I got some properties with...
One thing I'm noticing too with all these shots, and it's interesting, and this could be something you can do, like if you're working on your own gaming videos, you could actually build in a bit of movement, and you can do this with editing later, or you could like they have this kind of handheld feel to these shots. So if you come in here, it's not a completely steady shot. It's definitely moving around, and they're getting that from more of like a movie feel to it. They don't want to have a completely steady shot, but you don't always want to be moving your camera, but it could be something to add in on occasion to make your videos a little more entertaining.
Properties with paying tenants.
And again, you can see that they're cutting out some time here.
On your hands. I got some properties with paying tenants.
But that's why you came.
So they're cutting out some time here as well, so you can see it transition. So he might have been, you know, maybe still on the ladder, but they can cut time out because they can switch back and forth, and you can, it feels natural to cut that time out. So it's a good way to chop out some time. If you have extra things happening that's just a little too slow in your video, you can cut it out by cropping back and forth between two characters in your videos. And just going back to the pacing, you can see we have about 2 seconds here, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Then they expand it out a little bit more, because the characters are talking. There's a little more happening here, and we have this section here which has quite a bit of movement in it, and we have a bit of a slower pace happening right now. So there's not a whole lot happening. They're kind of, they've done quite a few cuts right at the start here to kind of get us aligned with what's happening, and then they slow it down, and now we're into the characters talking to each other here. So let's just take a look here. So we got this one here.
Just go get me my
So that was another pretty quick cut right there. Right there. So we have another cut right there. So we'll just mark that one as well. So we got, you can see they picked up the pace again. So there's a bit of a lull. They're switching it up. So you got that slow pace here, and then they come back right away, and now it's a quick pace again.
Just go get me my check.
And again, you still hear that overlapping of that sound. You hear the birds overlapping. You also hear the voices start before we actually get to that cut.
Just go get me my checks.
See you, Brian. Brian.
There's another cut right there. And again, you could hear his voice. He's not even talking in this scene now, but you could hear him in that last scene talking, and it feels natural that now we're transitioning back to him because of that J cut there.
Love you, Jason.
This scene is neat because they're actually taking the movement, and although it's not, you look at this movement here, they're going in, but the same speed, it's almost the same speed. Like if I scroll back and forth here, you can see that this speed, if I'll try to be smooth here, but you look at the speed of the wall coming at us, and it's almost about the same as you're getting from behind. So I think it feels really natural that you're getting that. And then it comes up to this blue building, and you had this blue building here. So everything's like, they put a lot of work into these videos. Like it's really neat to kind of pick it apart like this. And this one is a little more abrupt with the sound change, but you can see that they added it right at this point. Actually, it might be just a little bit before. Let's see. No, it's about the same time. So as soon as it cuts, the sound of the car, so there's no real, from what I can tell, there's no real J cut here, other than there probably is a little bit of overlap in sound, but not from the car and not from the music. But they add some music in here. So right here we have a pretty abrupt transition. So it comes from this kind of relaxed pace. Nothing's really happening. You can see it's a longer cut here. We have probably 3 seconds in there, maybe 4 seconds in there. Probably 4 seconds. It's a little bit longer. We had 2 long cuts actually here, and then nice long cut here as well. They're kind of switching things up, and then immediately, bam, we get hit with this fast transition here. So we get hit with, he gets hit here. So right there. And then right there is another transition almost immediately after. So we got another one right here. You can see this pacing now. We got slow pace here, and then suddenly this is even shorter here. We got probably, what is that, 1 second maybe? Yeah, it might be about 1 second in there. But it gets hit, and then that we're still getting those J cuts in there. And then he also smashes the register. And then we get a bit of a J cut here. So we're getting some sound travel through between these two, and it's straight into this one here. The neat thing, we have the music still in this one. So we had the music nice and bright, loud, and it's right in your face. And then they have the continuation of that music, but now it's kind of muffled. It sounds like it's in the background. And I think that's how they're making this transition so smooth, is because of that music change. So I think sound is a big one that we have to keep in mind when you're making transitions in your videos. So right here is another cut. So you can see it's a bit of a longer cut. Again, they have this kind of 4-second thing, but you can see it's fast pace, slow. They're kind of keeping you on your toes. They're switching it up. But compared to other videos, like a 4-second cut is not very long. If you're doing these kind of cuts, if you're trying to make this kind of video, there's a lot of cuts in here. This takes a lot of work. And all these cuts, they're not doing any fades or transitions where they zoom in, zoom out, or anything like that. It's all just, they're straight cuts, other than the very beginning. Another one with a big J cut here. We have that sound coming underneath. You can hear the sirens coming underneath that. Again, this is all building that story as well. We're kind of getting introduced to the character here, and then and as things ramp up, you can actually see the sound gets a lot more intense as we get closer to the end here. So this one here, are they doing the same? I think it's the same direction. So we're moving, everything's moving to the left, everything's moving to the left. Yeah, all the background is still moving the same direction. So if they were to swap the background now and move it the other direction, it would feel unnatural. But because we have the direction of this is all traveling one direction, and then now look at it, it's the same direction. It's slower, but it's the same direction, so I think it feels pretty natural. And then they also changed the way the sound is, and there's probably a little bit of overlap here on the sound.
I'm here for...
Yeah, you can hear it kind of fade to the different sounds, and then we get the vocals here.
Caminos? You're supposed to be getting out.
And then there's a big J cut right there. We got all that, everything that's we're hearing is on this scene here.
Caminos?
So we have that big lead in to this scene here, which ties it in nicely to that last scene.
You're supposed to be getting out.
And then they completely quiet everything down, so it's really focused just on that voice.
What's your name?
Jason Duval.
I've seen you here before.
You might have.
And then we had that really long cut. Compared to everything else we're seeing, that's a really long cut, but it's really important that we're it feels like more like we're now in the kind of the middle of the story. We're kind of learning more about the story here. And then we have that abrupt change with that sound. And I think there is a little bit, there's a little bit of leeway with that, or a little bit of lead in with that sound. You can see it's just very subtle, but it's happening there. And then it comes over here to lead us into that abrupt change in the visuals.
Hey.
So this is the first different kind of transition we had here. They're now fading it out, giving us more of a sense of time, I would think. Now they're throwing us into a bit more of a montage here. So we got some cuts in there. So we got one here, another. So we had this one here fades in. Then we have another one here, which if you look at this, the way this one happens here, it fades away. So this is an interesting kind of cut that you could do. So it fades away and then immediately comes back. So there's no fading in. It's just, it drops down to black and then comes back immediately up to where you see the people jumping over. And there's a lot of action. So there's no lull here. It's just immediately into the action here. And now we're getting those fast transitions again. Or fast cuts. So many cuts. So let's mark another one here. Again, it continues with these fast cuts here. So we got another one that's fading out, and then immediately it looks like it punches out to this one here. So we got that one happening. So it's that fade, and then it pops in with the new visuals.
The new beginnings.
So this is again another one where they're using that, they stand back and then they punch in for that effect, that nice shot. So right there to give it a little more speed and a little more action for the shot. And then they punch back out to give us a sense of where we are. And then I think it's going to punch in here. No, it punches to a different shot, so we have even more kind of a different visual. But you can hear the sound again is continuing, so it's not a... It's a completely... Like the sound is just continuing throughout that whole shot. So again, a lot of that J-cut type of stuff happening here, where we got the voice happening separate from the video. Just tying everything together. And you can look at the pacing here now. Look at that compared to this. It's if I zoom out here, like look at the pacing. It's fast. It's kind of fast. Then it slows right down here. We got this nice lull right here, and then it's just hammering us with different transitions. And I think we're going to see that continue a little bit longer here. So again, here we're seeing that the audio from this scene is completely taking over from the other ones. So you got that audio that continues throughout these scenes here. We're getting hit hard with all these transitions here. So you can see a ton of transitions. Look at all these transitions. So it's slow, 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 and then the pacing just picks up like crazy here. And we have this bit of this montage thing going on with the music. And you look at this here too. They don't start it like when he's pulling out the gun or anything. The gun is actually firing when they cut this transition. They want to hit this. If I come here, actually this is not the right spot for this transition. Right there, immediately the gun is firing. So it kind of gives you it's very abrupt. It's like those jump cuts that you can do when, like a talking head video, where you start immediately as the person starts to talk again. So same idea. That's a neat transition right there. So watch this transition here. There's a bit of a sound effect there of getting hit. I don't think this is from the video game. This is probably the editors doing this after the fact. Some of these transitions might be from the video game, but I think this is probably from editing. But you can see he's throwing this guy into a car. You hear the impact from that car, and then you can see her foot recoiling like she just kicked the guy. So it's kind of a neat transition where they're using the sound in both videos. And right now the pacing is relentless. Like you can see if there's anything happening, it's being cut. They have a cut here, they have a cut here. Everything is cut. And you can see, again, we got the audio overlapping here. We got the music overlapping. So it's really making this all kind of seamless. Like this is probably not even the same section of the video or like the game. It's a completely different, I'm almost guarantee it's a completely different spot what they're doing here. But it's like they're reacting to that car. This one is pretty abrupt, but I think they want to get your attention, so it kind of brings you back. It's they've been using that music through everything else, and then the music completely changes. You see this guy up here now. It's a completely different scene, but you no longer have that music anymore overlapping the song. And they use, I think, this abrupt change to kind of snap you out of this this kind of section here that's been really high paced and everything. And now they're going to bring you back. I bet it's going to be a slower section of cuts here, relatively slower. This is kind of going the opposite direction. They're zoomed in, but now they're going to pull you back so you can see what's happening right there.
Hey.
And you can hear the difference in audio now. The audio's changed. And again, this is probably the way they base it in the video game, but it's kind of neat that they're using kind of these techniques from like movies and stuff like that. And again, they kind of dial it back a bit, and like I mentioned before, you can see there's slow transitions here, and we're about to, I think, hit another section of fast transitions because we're about to hit another action scene here, right there. So there's already a transition, and you can see through this little section here, all the action is moving in the same direction, from what I can tell. or fairly similar. Like it's all moving forward. It all feels like it's moving the same direction. It doesn't feel disconnected. Like if you had this scene flipped, it would be really awkward. And you can see the pacing is picking up a little bit. It's not quite as intense as this was yet, but it might be just picking up to that point now. Let's see. This one here is a very fast transition. See, they're there, jumping. It zooms out so you can see what is happening here. And this one here, they're using that motorbike for the transition. See, the motorbike hits us right here. The motorbike's sliding right into us, and they use that as a transition into the next scene. So you can see, and then it ends up with a very similar kind of thing happening where she's pushing him rather than jumping. So I guess not pushing, she's jumping into his arms, but it's very similar because we had over here, they're jumping on the back of a truck, and then it's the same kind of scene happening here. Again, the sound is traveling between those two. We had that motorbike sound happen in this little scene here. So again, sound is a huge part of what makes these videos great. Like if you did this without the sound, it wouldn't be that great.
Hey, if you got friends.
Other than the fact that it's, you know, the graphics are amazing in this video game, but still. So then they do a nice slow fade here to really bring in that kind of cinematic feel of it. And then the reveal of the logo to get you all pumped about the new Grand Theft Auto coming out, and the date, which is all important for anyone waiting for this game. If you look at it visually now, you can kind of see what's happening. So you got this slow pace at the beginning here. Things pick up a bit, then it slows down. We got kind of a slower pace. It really slows down in this part where they're kind of giving us more of the storyline, what's happening, and then all of a sudden it picks up into this crazy fast montage with everything happening, explosions, people running, people doing jumping, police entering the buildings. All this is happening. People are getting kicked. All the sounds are being transitioned. Like this would have taken a long time to put this together. And then it slows down again here to kind of snap you out of this montage. And then we got this, and then we got again, brings us back a little bit slow here, and then it brings us right back into the action here. Nice fast pace. So they kind of give us that bit of that break in this little section here, and then it slows down and goes fast again, transitioning, and then we end with the kind of slower transition. So I think if there's anything I've learned from looking over this whole video is that pacing is very fast when it comes to a trailer like this. Like if you want a fast-paced video, like you're talking about the Mr. Beast videos and those type of videos, they do extremely fast-paced, and Mr. Beast might even be more extreme than this, but this is a nice pace for like a trailer that gets you excited about it. It's keeping you really entertained, and I think we undersell cuts when it comes to creating videos, especially if you're kind of new to video creating. You'll make a cut maybe every 20 seconds or something like that, or maybe it's every couple minutes, and it's really slow, and you wonder why it feels like it's just kind of dragging on, and this could be the reason. But you don't always want to have this crazy fast pace. But if you want to create a fast-paced action scene, or you want to give that more that really exciting video, if you're creating like a gaming video and you want to make it really exciting, start doing a whole bunch of cuts, but make it make sense. Like you have to have them transition properly, make them flow properly. You can't just have random cuts, but even random cuts will speed up the feeling of the video, and it will make it feel more polished and a little more fast and fun. And then you can kind of slow things down in certain sections when maybe someone's talking or something's happening. You slow things down and then you speed it up again. And that's what I think I've learned from kind of analyzing this as well, is that one pacing doesn't fit all as either. You want to have that kind of that flow. You want to have that kind of that transition where it keeps you entertained. It's a decent pace, and then you really speed it up for sections where you want to speed it up. And the use of sound is huge throughout this whole video. The use of sound is absolutely, that's what they're using for everything in here to make it sound and look this amazing, is they're using that sound. That is a massive part. There's sound effects in here and all kinds of stuff that I probably haven't even been able to kind of uncover, because well, for one, it could be baked into the video game, but I suspect they're using a lot of sound effects that aren't even baked into the video game just to add a little more emphasis to this. It's captured on the PS5, but it doesn't mean that they haven't modified it in any way, because they clearly have done a lot of modifications and they've spent a ton of time on this video. So hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, hit that thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.